Good evening, everyone. I call this meeting of the Township of Union Planning Board to order. Sunshine notice, please.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting stating the time and place was satisfied by the filing of an annual notice with the local source and the Star Ledger, newspapers of general circulation within the Township of Union, and posted on the bulletin board of the Township of Union Municipal Building.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander? Mr. Cohan? Ms. Espinoza? Mr. Frayne?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Perkins?
Here.
Mayor Bowser?
Here.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Here.
Ms. Khan?
Here.
Ms. Kalid?
Here.
Chairman Lee?
Here. Okay, on our agenda, the first item is just the approval of the minutes from the February 27 meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Perkins, seconded by Mr. Cohan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Frayne?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mayor Bowser?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Kalid?
Yes.
Chairman Lee?
Yes. All right. Just gonna slightly move around on our agenda, just on some housekeeping items. With regards to application 2025-04 CRF Development LLC, 1307 Stuyvesant Avenue, we first heard this application, and there was an initial intention to continue the matter at this meeting. However, we received a correspondence on May 13th from Rosemary Stone Daughtery, the representative for the applicant for CRF Development for 1307 Stuyvesant Avenue, just saying that the letter is the formal request for the applicant to withdraw the application to the planning board. So as a result of that, we will no longer be hearing the application for CRF Development 1307 Stuyvesant Avenue. So the next matter up with regards to application 2024-09, 811 Chestnut Street. May the representative please come forth?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Stephen Hale representing the applicant, Mike Quica, in connection with 811 Chestnut Street. It's not on?
I think we hear you now.
Better? There you go.
We did receive a correspondence on May 22nd to request that the hearing for 811 Chestnut be carried over to the June 26th meeting without further public notice. I don't believe anyone on the board has any questions unless you have anything
Yeah, I
further
just
to
want to
add.
explain, at the last hearing, there were requests to have updated plans showing the light, traffic light, and some other changes to the plans. We did have those plans revised. Actually, I delivered them last Thursday, but we obviously needed to now give an opportunity for Colliers to do their report, fire department, and police department, and we did submit the revised plan to the county. So rather than pushing to try and have all that done for tonight, we'd like at least to have your professionals and police and fire have a look at that. So I figured let us request the adjournment.
Okay, wonderful. Can I get a motion to adjourn the application to the June 26th meeting without further public notice?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cohan. Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Khan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Frayne?
Yes.
Mr. Miller? Yes. Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mayor Bowser?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Kalid?
Yes.
Chairman Lay?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
I'm looking at the memo. I have to change my vote. I wasn't here. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just realized that the motion to approve the minutes were of the February 27th meeting. I was not in attendance, so I'd like to change my vote to abstain.
Can we have that reflected on the record?
Okay. Mr. Cohan, right?
Mrs. Rutledge, I think I was looking at another piece of paper. When I entertain the motion for the minutes for the February 27th meeting. I was looking at another paper. It seems like there's another sheet that says minutes for the May 22nd meeting.
April 20, the minutes should be from April 24th. I'm sorry if there's a typo on any of it there.
It says
They're the
February.
minutes of the April meeting, correct?
Well, there's one sheet
That's
that
what,
says...
that's what we'd be approving, the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, okay. So the last meeting is April 24th?
Right.
Okay. So I think with that... Well, let's make the motion again. Can I entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the April 24th meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd make that motion to approve that.
Moved by Mrs. Perkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cohan. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Frame?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mayor Bowser?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Kalen?
Abstain.
Chairman Lake?
Yes. Okay, next we will have a presentation from Kristen Russell with regards to the municipal lot redevelopment. I'm sorry, before we do that, I forgot to ask to swear in the engineer.
Thank you. Mr. Jeanette, will you raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Do we also need to swear in Mrs.
Yeah.
Russell?
Ms. Russell, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Good evening, everybody. Is this working? Okay. Kristen Russell here with Colliers Engineering to present to you a municipal lot redevelopment plan. So as context, back in 2015, the township adopted an area in need study for a number of lots in the township, inclusive of the, if you're looking at the screen, the largest lot there, that's block 2906, lot 17, and the right-of-way that runs perpendicular behind it. More recently, in 2023, we did another area in need study, and that study included the two lots at the bottom of the screen, as well as the rectangle that would fill in the jog at the front of the Morris Avenue frontage. At this time, so when you have an area in need study, you can use any or all of the parcels that were designated in a redevelopment plan. So at this point in time, what we've done is we have combined those two earlier area in need studies and eliminated the front parcel. So we are proposing a redevelopment area of 4 lots, really 3 lots and 1 right-of-way. That 5th lot that was designated can at a later date become a redevelopment area or be incorporated into this as well, but that's not part of the discussion tonight. Just as a refresher, those 2 area in need studies that were done were qualified under criterion D, E, and section 3. D is, to put it briefly, areas with buildings or improvements which by reason of dilapidation, obsolescence, so on and so forth, are detrimental to the community. E is a growing or total lack of proper utilization of those areas. And section 3 allows inclusion of parcels that may not otherwise qualify, but that are important to the furthering the development of the area, and omitting them would make that problematic. All redevelopment plans need to show consistency with your master plan, and so I've demonstrated a few ways in which that is accomplished on the screen here. Your 2021 Comprehensive Master Plan has a goal of supporting desirable non-residential development, identify zoning ordinance improvements that can respond to changing economies and market demands. It has a goal of establishing realistic, market-driven, and financially feasible redevelopment plans that attract new development and encourage redevelopment or rehabilitation of existing properties. encouraging improvement of properties in disrepair, and a goal of encouraging sustainability and resilience as part of redevelopment. And that's done with approaches such as EV charging. We also are required to look at consistency with adjacent communities. The only community that is somewhat proximate to this site is Kenilworth. However, the Kenilworth-Union border near this site happens to be the golf course, Galloping Hill Golf Course. So that is zoned P in Kenilworth, but that golf course works as a great buffer between what is going on in Union and what is going on in Kenilworth. That being said, I don't anticipate that what I will present to you in terms of what we are proposing for the zoning on this site would be problematic to Kenilworth. I think it would still be consistent. And in fact, beyond the golf course in Kenilworth is an industrial district. So in fact, their master plan states that with the exception of the industrial zone adjoining Union residential zoning, the districts are compatible with each other, and I don't expect that this will change that. The county master plan has goals and objectives to facilitate development of Union County by directing new growth to environmentally suitable areas and to revitalize the urban centers and corridors. Union Township is one such area, and to promote new development and redevelopment that is consistent and compatible with existing settlement patterns. In Union County's 2025 cross-acceptance report, it was recognized that Union will most likely experience growth through redevelopment. And the state, we also show consistency with the state. Union Township is located within the metropolitan PA1 planning area, which is intended to provide much of the state's future growth. We will advance goals including promoting redevelopment and diversification of land uses, promoting economic development, and encouraging a broad range of uses. So now down to the part that is probably most interesting to you. What do we propose allowing on this site? We have a moderately long list of permitted principal uses, not dissimilar to a lot of what we see in the NC zone: hotels, offices, medical offices, indoor-outdoor rec. I'm not going to read them all to you. Restaurants, retail sales and services. So kind of commercial uses, but the interesting component here, I think, is the hotels that may be permitted on the site. Just a summary of some of the bulk standards that are established. Minimum lot area is 4 acres, so they would not be able to, the site is larger than 4 acres, but they really would not be able to subdivide it into smaller lots. Minimum lot coverage is 65% and building coverage is 20%. Maximum building height, 4 stories and 55 feet. Minimum required setbacks from the right-of-way, 30 feet, and from interior lot line, 10 feet. So this ensures that there will still be some distance between the existing adjacent properties and anything that's developed on this site. And for parking and loading requirements, we defer to the municipal code standards that already exist. Some other guidelines that we have established are the requirement that sidewalks be included. This means both along the right-of-ways and from those right-of-ways to any building entrances. Signage to comply with the municipal code. Parking lots and parking lot perimeters and islands must be landscaped. A 6-foot solid fence shall be provided on all property lines abutting residential uses and zones. And something that will be new to you is that 1 billboard would be permitted facing the Garden State Parkway. It has a maximum sign area of 532 square feet. I didn't just pull that number out of the air. I did some research as to what billboards in New Jersey and along the Garden State Parkway tend to be, and that's the most common size. To further control that, we've established some controls on lighting, landscaping at the base to keep it attractive, and an engineer's safety analysis is required in advance of any approval on that to make sure that no sight lines and there's no danger to vehicle travel when that billboard, if and when a billboard is proposed. That's really what I have to present to you tonight. Obviously, as you know from my past presentations, I give you a summary of what I think are the most interesting points, but I'm always happy to take questions on anything else or provide clarification. So I'm here for any questions.
Questions from the board? Questions from the public? Oh, wait, Mr. Cohen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So given the long list of permitted uses, I mean, to me, it looks like anything can go there,
Well,
just about anything,
residential isn't on the list,
nor is industrial, I don't
right?
think. But that's a pretty broad, do we have any sense whatsoever whether there are any developers interested in this space?
Yeah, there is. There are conversations going on, and I am not at liberty to share some of that information.
Well, I guess if there are conversations going on, I guess my question would be, why isn't the list of permitted uses somewhat narrower?
I expect that in the coming later this year, maybe sooner than later, the plan may be amended to prune that list down, because those conversations that are happening with officials, and I'm not trying to be secretive, I'm not in the room.
Understood.
I'm not in the room with those conversations. I think they're still trying to massage what may or may not be developed there. And in the meantime, they want to keep those conversations going without too much limitation in order to keep everybody kind of interested and negotiating.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm satisfied.
I'm not trying to
Understood.
avoid your question.
Any other questions from the board? All right, hearing none, any questions from the public?
Hello, Board. Eric O's, 1083 Mayfair Road, Union, New Jersey. I just had a question in regards to the location.
Yep.
Could you zoom out on that map?
I sure can.
I saw Morris Avenue, but it didn't.
Oh, well, the map, does that help?
No. Well, I don't know the area so great.
It's
so.
a stagnant image, so I can't zoom
Could-
out, but.
Could you go to the drawing, the tax map? Yeah,
Yes.
that.
Yep.
So I see Morris Avenue at the top, and then the Garden State is there.
The Garden State Parkway's down on
okay.
the bottom. Uh-huh.
All right. I think I have a good idea. I'll drive by there. What's the cross street of Morris Avenue, the intersecting over there? Floyd.
Grandview and
I see Floyd. Okay. All right. I was just curious. I
Okay.
couldn't tell where exactly this was.
I can talk to you in the hallway with our phones if that would help afterward.
That'd be fun.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay.
Kristen, if it would help, Block 2904 is essentially Town Hall, right?
Oh, gosh. I don't know.
Because,
Yes, yeah.
So that's
Vince,
over
is that
here.
correct? Yeah, like basically right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, that was it.
Is that what's across the street? Is that what you're saying?
No, just off the drawing.
Oh, just off the drawing?
Yeah, off the drawing to the left of Burke Parkway.
Oh,
Okay.
That gave you a frame of reference, yep. Okay. Any other questions from the public? Okay. Hearing none, I do believe the motion is to concur with the recommendations of the municipal lot redevelopment plan for recommendation for final adoption from the Township Committee. So can I get a motion, please?
So moved. I'll defer to Mr. Miller.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cohen. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Frayne?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Perkins?
Yeah.
Mayor Bowser?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Khalid?
Yes.
Chairman Lay?
Yes. Okay. Next on our agenda is 1331 Management LLC for 1331 Stuyvesant Avenue. May the representative please approach?
Natasha Montalvo on behalf of the applicant, Lynn 1331 Management. Give me a second while I set this up, please.
I didn't see her. I didn't see her. Let me see if I see him in the hall. I can tell you who it is.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. We are here today for preliminary and final site plan approval for 1331, 1335 Stuyvesant Avenue, Block 2210, Lot 2.01. The property is located in the township's downtown transition zone, which permits what we're proposing, a mixed-use building. It is currently improved with a one-story commercial building that was the prior Titan Engineering building. The applicant is seeking to renovate the interior and make it mixed use with retail and a laundromat. The operations of the laundromat would be 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I just want to do some operational testimony up front. Trash will be picked up by a private hauler. For a laundromat right now, trash is just empty laundry detergent, nothing really big or toxic or anything, except when, when moving in, and there'll be big boxes, but other than that, it's just normal trash. Right now, we do not have any tentative tenants for the retail. That will be something down the line. We are currently seeking existing variances, such as minimum front yard, minimum side yard, minimum rear yard, distance from the sign from the right-of-way, the width of the sign, and the ground sign height. We will go, our engineer will address those in his testimony. And we are also seeking 2 design waivers, the mounting height of light fixtures and the height of the block wall that are on the plans. Again, our professionals will go through the plans and point out those variances. If there are no preliminary questions, I would like to call our engineer.
Just how many witnesses are you calling tonight?
2.
2?
Yes.
Your engineer and architect?
Correct.
Okay.
We do have the applicant here available for any questions if needed.
Okay. All right, please proceed.
Thank you. John, can you go ahead, get sworn in and give your credentials?
Sure.
Yeah, can you raise your right hand? Can you spell your last name for the record?
Sure. Legal name is Giovanni Manilio, Manilio, with Mantero Design.
Mr. Milanio, do you swear the testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you please provide your credentials to the board?
Sure. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Syracuse University. I've been licensed in the state of New Jersey for the past 16 years, licensed in good standing, testified in front of numerous boards, and I believe I was in front of this board last month as well.
Board stipulates.
Thank you. Can you go ahead and take us through the plans?
Sure. So I have a couple exhibits that are new tonight, so I will, I guess, mark them in. The first one is entitled Lynn 1331 Management LLC, aerial exhibit with today's date. It's just an aerial of the general vicinity of the property, with the property highlighted in yellow. And I'll just zoom
Can we
in
mark
a
that
little
as
bit.
A1?
And the zoning districts in the surrounding area as well. So, as mentioned earlier, the property is 1331, 1335 Stuyvesant Avenue, the old Titan Engineering building, and located in the DT or downtown transition zone. The property is a little peculiar in shape. It's almost like a rhombus shape with a frontage of about 136 feet along Stuyvesant Avenue, and then along the rear yard it's about 81 feet in width, and the depth is about 125 feet. Currently, there's an existing building that's on the site. It's a one-story building, low building. I believe it's only about 13 feet tall, in an L-shaped configuration with a parking lot on the south side that has 13 parking spaces. I did go through historic aerials, and it appears that the building and the parking in this configuration was built somewhere in the late 50s or early 60s. So it's been there for a while. For the most part, the site is relatively flat as far as where the development is, where the parking and the building, but there is a pretty good slope from the parking lot to the neighbor to the south, with about a 9-foot difference in elevation change there. As far as surrounding uses, to the north, there is a residential dwelling. To the south is a medical office. On the opposite side of Stuyvesant is mostly commercial. And then as you get along Ernst and Marianne Way, you do have more residential as well. As mentioned earlier, there's several pre-existing nonconformities on the site as is, mostly with the setbacks. So you have a front yard setback of 5 feet is required, where the existing setback of the building is 4.59, which is off by a little bit. Side yard setback of 5 feet is required, where the existing setback is 4.68 feet. A rear yard of 20 feet is required, where 18.21 is currently out there. And then the ground sign that's currently out by the street, there's 3 nonconformities with that, the height, the width, and the location. And we'll go over that a little bit later, because the intent of the application is to reutilize that sign and just reface it. Next exhibit that I'm going to reference is a colored rendition of the site plan entitled Lynn 1331 Management LLC.
Can we mark that as A2?
Site exhibit with today's date. And we just colored it a little bit so it's easier to see what's going on out there. So as you can see here in the color, the brown represents the current building that's out there. The dark gray is the parking lot, and the green represents open space, lawn, or landscaping. So the intent is to convert the building into 2 tenant spaces, and you can see with the hatching, we have one going one way and one going the other way. The portion that's on the upper portion over here would be considered the new laundromat, and then the portion closer to Stuyvesant would be the retail space for a future tenant, which we're calling a vanilla box, because right now there's no tenant, but it will be utilized for some type of other retail use. As far as site changes, there's not much that we are proposing, but we are proposing some cleanup. Our review of the site showed that the ADA space was not conforming with regulations. So we are proposing to restripe that and to make that a van accessible ADA space up to code. It's actually, I think, a little bit bigger than what's required. It's 9 feet and 9 feet, where 8 feet and 8 feet is required. And I believe there was a comment in the board engineer's review letter that to update the detail, and we will, but that is in compliance. There's a total of 13 spaces, the same that was out there originally. We are not proposing any EV parking on this project. Reason being, it is exempt. It's under 25 parking spaces, and it's a commercial, so it's not required, and it's not being proposed as part of this application. Along the, I believe, the north side of the property, we are proposing a 4-foot ornamental fence, a black fence, along that side with a gate, and it's more just to have a little more protection and not have anybody kind of sneak in through that alleyway and get to the back. Again, there was a comment in the Collier's review letter stating that that fence should be a minimum of 2 inches from the property line, and we'll note that it will be a minimum of 2 inches off that property line. Additionally, there are going to be some changes to the building. There are going to be new entrances put in. So the one for the laundromat, the main entrance would be right here where my cursor is, and then there's 2 other entrances on the, I guess, south side of that building, facing the parking lot as well. And the architect will go into a little more detail regarding the layout of the building. Additionally, we are proposing to expand the refuse area. So the way that that refuse area is constructed today, it's just a small little kind of, I want to call it almost like a bunker. It's built into the hillside, and it's enough to fit kind of like 2 residential trash cans, which might have sufficed for the office building, which I still think it was a little small for the office building. But for the retail use, we envision that there's going to be a little more trash generated. So we are making that bigger. It's big enough to hold 2 5 cubic yard dumpsters. We anticipate one would be for refuse and one would be for recycling. In order to do so, again, this is still going to be built into the hillside because there is that hill that goes up to the neighbors. We are going to build a retaining wall along both sides here that face the resident. And that wall is approximately at the highest point 6.5 feet tall. And that's one of the design waivers we're requesting, where 6 feet is permitted. So it's a slight deviation, but it has to do with the grade. In order to catch the grade, we need to have that wall slightly higher. So that is the garbage. And then additionally, we are proposing a new light pole. So currently, the site has actually 2 little, almost like residential kind of light posts that flank this ADA parking space. Again, there could be no obstructions in the ADA parking space to begin with, and 2, that doesn't provide enough light for the parking area. So we are proposing a light fixture, as you can see here, this black square on the other side of the parking lot, but we are asking for a design waiver on the height. So the way the ordinance reads is that the maximum height of the light fixture could be 25 feet or the height of the building. In our case, the building is only about 13 or 12.8 feet tall, so that would be the maximum height for a light fixture. We are proposing a light fixture that's 18 feet tall. I think in this case, I'm not too concerned about the neighbors to the south. Not that there's not going to be any light that goes over there. But as far as the height, they're 9 feet taller to begin with. So in retrospect, they're almost at the height is almost 9 feet compared to their property. And again, there's no spillage. We'll go over the lighting. Actually, I can show you the lighting right now. Foot candles. You can see the lighting here. This doesn't model that hill, but if they were at a level plane, the light spillage on the property would be 0.1 foot candles, which is essentially moonlight type of quantities. And then again, in the engineer's review letter, they had requested that we modify the lighting to provide a little more lighting along the building sidewalk. We are providing 0.3 foot candles, which is the minimum per the town ordinance, but we have no issues providing another either wall pack or light on the overhang there to provide more illumination along that sidewalk. So we'll work with your professionals on designing that lighting as well. So as I still have this plan up, we are proposing 3 new building mounted signs on the building, and I'll talk about the ground sign after we talk about the wall signs. So the 3 signs that are being proposed, one's on the main facade of the laundromat facing Stuyvesant. There'll be another small sign facing the parking lot on the south side of the building, and then another sign on the Stuyvesant side on the other side of the building, which is in conformance with the town code that we're allowed to have 1 sign per business per wall. So we have 3 walls and 3 signs. As far as conformance, they will be fully conforming with the town ordinance regarding projection from the face, less than 8 inches, mounting height, that they're going to be greater than 8 feet from the ground. All signs will be a maximum of 3 feet tall, where 4 feet is permitted. The sign width, so sign 1, which is the sign right here, will be 9 feet in width, where 23 feet is permitted. Sign 2, which is this sign back here, is 20.3 feet wide, where 36 feet is permitted. And then sign 3, which faces the parking lot, is 6 feet wide, where 49.5 feet is permitted. As far as sign areas, we are permitted a sign area that's 10% of the building facade. Signs 1 and 2 are 10%, exactly 10% of the building facade. And sign 3 is closer, I don't have that exact number, but I believe it's 3% of the building facade. So all smaller than what's permitted by code. Lastly, we are going to talk about the existing sign that's right here. And I'm actually going to, I think, show another exhibit. I do have a street view.
Can't believe the sign is that high.
And you can see the building.
This will be A3.
A3. So I think this is a good visual to see what's going out there today. You can see the existing improvements. You can see that hillside where the lot grades up 9 feet, and you can see the sign that's currently out there. So per the ordinance, no ground sign can be more than 4 feet above the grade. The current sign is 6.33 or 6 feet 4 inches above the grade. Additionally, the bottom of the sign could be no more than 1 foot above the grade, and currently it's 2 feet 4 inches above the grade as we measured it out in the field. The width of the sign, a maximum of 5 feet is permitted where the maximum width of 4 feet is permitted where the sign is 5 feet. That's out there. And then there's a minimum distance from a property line or right-of-way line of 15 feet where the sign is actually located in the right-of-way. And our only take on that is that if you look at the property, there is a jog in the property line. You can see right here. So I don't know at one point if there was a taking from the county, but there is a unique situation there where the property line does jog into the property. In order to make this conforming, the sign would have to move 15 feet inward from the property line, which would be probably 3 parking spaces into the site, which would not be visible from the traveling public. So that is the relief we're asking on the existing sign that's going to be refaced. And that sign is currently internally illuminated, and it will be maintained as internally illuminated. As far as bulk standards, there's no changes to the bulk standards with the exception of impervious coverage. There is a slight increase in impervious. 80% is permitted. The current site is 71.5%, and what's being proposed is 72.3%, or an increase of 64 square feet, and that's just due to the increase in that refuse area. As far as drainage, we anticipate that there's going to be any negative impacts to the neighbors or the surrounding area, as this area drains directly into a catch basin, which does go into the storm system in the county's right-of-way, and it doesn't flow into any of the neighbors' properties. Additionally, after reviewing the review letter from Colliers, the applicant has no issues with tying in the roof leaders into the existing storm system. Currently, they just discharge, I believe, 2 grade, so we will take care of that. So that will be an improvement as well as for stormwater purposes. Lastly, we are going to propose a new water service to the building. It wasn't shown on the plans, but that is something that's going to be proposed because of the laundromat use. We don't know the size of that line right now because the MEP or the plumbing drawings weren't designed yet. And as we'll discuss a little later, as far as the laundromat, we do have a maximum number of machines and dryers, but that is all not hashed out yet. Once we have a designer that comes in and actually designs it, there's an actual laundromat designer, they will come up with the final count for those. That concludes.
And then you have no problems complying with the rest of the Collier's letter or anything in the fire report, correct?
Correct.
And I just want to note for the record that the fire report that we have is still from the prior first submission that was proposing a restaurant. So there's some comments in there that doesn't pertain to this because we're no longer doing a restaurant, we're doing a laundromat. I just want to make that clear as we have not received an updated fire report. But, all right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Yes, I have 2 questions. First one is what do you propose to do with the sign that does not comply?
So the existing sign that doesn't comply, the intent is just to reface the actual sign itself. So let me see if I could bring A4, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, A3.
Oh, sorry, A3. So where it says Titan, that blue area, that would be refaced with the new tenants, the laundromat and the future tenant.
But the size and the elevation of it, you're going to leave?
Correct, yeah.
You're asking to leave the same way?
Yes.
Awesome. And the second question I have is, you began to reference the plan that has not been finalized relative to the maximum amount of...
We do have a maximum amount. The question is, it might be actually less washers and dryers.
Are you comfortable that the maximum amount will be covered sufficiently with the parking spaces that you have?
Correct, yes. So we did, I didn't state that, but...
So there wouldn't be more than 13 machines?
So typically, yeah, it's not one machine per person. Usually if there's a machine that's being used, or they use a couple machines at a time, so. The basis on this was based on retail use.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any sense of what the sign, the laundromat sign will be? What it will say?
No, not at this moment. Obviously, it would say laundromat, but the name of it, I'm not sure if there's actual tenant itself that, or end user for
Okay.
that, but it would be a laundromat.
Any other questions from the board?
Can I just ask a question about the sign?
Sure.
Back to the sign. So I know you don't want to move it back for the reasons you stated, but is there an opportunity to adjust the size of the sign so that it is in in compliance with the ordinance?
I don't think we have an issue yet, as long as the location stays there. I think we can make it conforming as far as the width and height,
Yes,
and make it closer to conformance.
yes,
That shouldn't be an issue.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
So just to understand, the part that included the kitchen and the hood ventilation, those are both
That-
taken out?
Correct.
Okay.
That was pertaining to the original application, which was for a restaurant and retail, and then we amended it just for laundromat and retail. So there will be no hood, vent, or anything in there.
Okay. Thank you.
John, just one quick clarification. That picture that's up there is good for the board to see. That 18-foot-high light standard that's going to be put in, can you just give the board a sense on where that's going to hit? I know that you have the slope there, and the height of that slope plus the fence, the neighbor behind really is going to have very little visibility of that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that is accurate. So like I said, this is about, where my cursor is right now is about 9 feet. Our light is going to be 18 feet, so essentially double that. So right about where my cursor is right now would be the height of the light. And I believe that the neighbor that's directly affected by it is really the medical office as well. There is the other neighbor on this side, but they're actually further away from that light.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I ask a follow-up question on that then? Why did you decide, or can you explain why you feel you need an 18-foot light?
That was to meet the minimum requirements within the parking lot. There's a minimum requirement of 0.3. And we are going to ask for that relief of 18 feet for the design waiver, but I think once we work with maybe putting another light on the building, we'll be able to reduce that height a little bit. Unfortunately, we haven't done that exercise, so I can't say that we can lower it to 15 feet, but we will do our best to lower it from the 18 feet.
Because in the rendering, in the photograph that we have in front of us, there appears to be a house with a deck and so forth. That's a private home?
Correct, yeah.
And I saw that you indicated it would be no more than like, did you say 1 foot candle or something?
Point 1 foot candle.
I think a neighbor might be concerned, and I'm sure you'll work to make it compliant.
Yeah, and if we can get it down to 15 feet, we'll get it down to 15 feet. I don't like to go any lower because if a truck or somebody comes in, it could hit the light, so we want to keep it above 14 feet.
Any other questions from the board? Questions from the public? All right, hearing none, would you like to call your next
Yes.
witness?
Thank you. Mr. Iman?
There was two here, so it's fine.
Can we swear in Mr. Iman, please?
Sir, can you raise your right hand and spell your last name for the record?
Sure. My first name is Ayman, A-Y-M-A-N. My last name is Cedra, S-C-E-D-R-A.
Mr. Cedra, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Can you give your background to your credentials to the board?
Sure. I have a bachelor in architecture from Faculty of Engineering from Egypt, and I am a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, PA, New York, and state of Tennessee as well. My license is in a good standing and still current. I haven't testified in front of this board before. I did testify in many boards, with many boards in the state of New Jersey.
Board stipulates.
Thank you. I know you did not do the plans, but can you explain how you are covering for Mr. Dantes and have reviewed the plans
Yes, I have reviewed the
extensively?
plans with him and the design with him and his associates as well. I'm just here to fill in for him because he's not present. But I am familiar with the design and all the aspects of the design.
Perfect. Can you take us through the floor plans, please?
Sure. The floor plan is the building, as the civil engineer mentioned, it's a single-story structure, not a very high building, maybe like 13 to 14 foot high, with a flat roof. The existing building was used as an engineering office. Now we're converting this building for two spaces. We're going to use it as retail, and the other space will be a laundromat. The retail space will be the closest part from the street, which is this section here. If you look at the plan, it's that part goes from the street. It will be allocated for a retail business. We don't know what it is now. And this space is just going to be like one big open space. It's also equipped with a mechanical room, storage room, and 2 bathrooms. The 2 bathrooms are existing. This space also is equipped with 2 exits and 2 entrances, one facing the street, almost facing the street, and the other one is on the side facing the parking lot. The other space is the laundromat. Obviously, the count of the washer and dryer is still not specified 100%, but the laundromat, we're going to have the layout for the washer and dryers as it's shown in the drawing. Behind the dryers, we'll have a service area. Like a service corridor behind the dryers to service the dryers. Also, we have some waiting area here on this side. We have 5 seats. We have all the accessible bathroom. We have 2 handicap accessible bathroom and 1 for the employee or the owner of the space. We have an office. And on this side also we have more washer and dryers. Also the civil engineer mentioned, this laundromat is equipped with 2 new doors that will be installed to access the space and also will be used for exit. And also we have another door at the back. So this unit is equipped with 3 exit doors. Regarding the square footage of the space, the total square footage of the retail space is 1,341, and the total square footage of the laundromat is 3,420 square feet. The next sheet here shows the exterior. We're not doing much with the exterior except installing the new doors that I mentioned, but the whole building stays as it is with the brick facade that we see, and also there is a small roof, like a skirt roof, that dresses up the front facades. Again, the roof is a flat roof. This building is a slab on grade. It doesn't have a basement. The next image where you see the rear elevation. The rear elevation is the existing rear elevation where it shows the cinder block walls, painted cinder block walls. The next sheet also shows the 2 sides of the building with mix between brick on the facades that sees the street or sees the parking lot, and cinder block on the hidden side elevations.
Thank you. And you have reviewed the fire department's comments and the Collier's letter, and there should be no issues complying with everything?
Correct, yes, no
Thank
issues
you.
compliant.
No further questions.
Questions from the board?
The space was originally used for offices. So now being used as a laundromat, can you speak to ventilation?
Yeah, we will confirm with all what's needed ventilation-wise. We haven't designed the system for ventilation yet, but when the time comes, we will address all the ventilation that's needed.
It will be in compliance with building codes, correct?
Yes.
Any further questions? Hearing none, questions from the public? That was your last witness. Would you like to sum?
Yes, I would. Thank you. So this is for a mixed-use project, a laundromat and retail space. The existing variances we're seeking are currently existing nonconformities. As we stated, we will try to comply, bring the sign into compliance. However, we will not be able to relocate the sign, but we will bring it into compliance, and we will address all the comments that Colliers and the fire department have addressed, and we hope that you guys approve this application, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve application 2025-06, 1331 Management LLC for 1331 Stuyvesant Avenue? Moved by Ms. Khan. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Khaled. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Frayne?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mayor Bowser?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell? Ms. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Kalid?
Yes.
Chairman Lay?
Yes. Thank you. All right, last on our agenda is application 2025-05, RCG Realty, 1200 Springfield Road. Mr. Hale?
Yes, good evening, Stephen Hale representing the applicant, RCG Realty, LLC. And Natasha did a good job, didn't she?
Yes.
And thank you, and it's great to welcome someone else that just bought that building and invested in the Township of Union. So, anyway, say hello to everybody.
Congratulations.
Sorry, but I thought just always like that little personal touch. So this one is another one. Rich Greeley, who's going to be coming up and speaking briefly. Safeway Contracting has been in Union for many, many years. They were originally on Broadway Avenue and now over on Iorio. And Richie bought 1200 Springfield Road, if you recall. That used to be Beyondy's Trucking for years. At that location, then was acquired as part of the Bed Bath & Beyond. And I was in front of this board. I don't know who was on the board at the time, but there were quite a few iterations of what they were going to do with 1200, because if you recall, Bed Bath had 650 Liberty, 700 Liberty, 650A across the street on the corner of Broadway and Liberty. 1200, again, they acquired at some point in time from Beyondy's, and it was going to be a maintenance yard at one point. Then they were going to demo it for additional parking, and eventually, with the bankruptcy of Bed Bath, these properties then became on the market, and Mr. Greeley actually purchased the property and is looking to relocate his business to this location. Again, he's excited about utilizing this property for his business. Again, he's in the roof contracting business, has done a lot of work in the Township of Union, probably doing almost all the school roofing projects throughout the township. I think you'll be impressed by the plans. You'll see that there's going to be, along the front of the property, enhancing the landscaping, and the building itself will be redone and beautified, new windows in the building. We have received the review letters from Colliers. We'll address them, but essentially no problem with that, and no problem at all with the fire department. They obviously, Mr. Greeley wants to maintain a a safe and efficient operation at that location. So again, he's excited to further invest in the township, and he doesn't like to talk much, but I told him he's got to talk a little bit, so Rich, why don't you come on up? He wanted to know if he could avoid talking. I said, no, you're going to have to talk.
I'm fine. I guess I was here about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, well, we're going to swear you in first, so.
And
Can-
it's pleased to see
can you-
everybody again.
Sir,
Hey,
can you raise your right hand
Sure.
and spell your last name for the record?
Greeley.
Mr. Greeley, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
okay. And Mr. Greeley, you're now the owner of the property at 1200 Springfield Road?
Yes.
Okay, and again, this is part of a redevelopment area with the Bed Bath and Beyond property. And yes, we were before this board on his project over on Iorio a couple of years ago when he purchased that and had his business there. So tell us a little bit about your history in the Township of Union, and then what brings you to this property?
I started out on Roadway Avenue, it's got to be maybe 18 years ago, and then we purchased a smaller building in Kenilworth, we outgrew that, and then we moved to Union to 2461 Iorio, and that's kind of an odd-shaped lot for us as a contractor yard, so it was a little bit difficult, and then we actually found out that that 1200 was available, and it took us probably about a year just to get in contact with a person who knew what was going on with it, and we purchased it. It was a long road, and start really cleaning it up and making it look nice, and we really want to make it look, present our company very well.
Okay.
We
And I know
enjoy
you.
Union.
Yep, when your site contract talks about you're enhancing the landscaping
Yes.
along the front, cleaning up the
Yes.
building, I think new windows and...
Yeah, new windows, we'll paint it, we're going to put panels on it, new roofing, a new facade. The whole front of the building is going to be all re-landscaped. We want it to look like a nice, pretty building for our company also.
And it was an arduous process dealing with the bankruptcy of Bed Bath and trying to pin them down on the sale. Tell us a little bit, we know your roof contracting business. Generally, what are your hours of operation?
We usually operate probably between 6:30 and 5 o'clock, Monday through Saturday. Very rarely do we ever work on Sunday. We don't usually work holidays.
And I know your number of let's talk about your total number of employees, but then focus on how many will be at the site.
Probably in the winter time, we have about 35, and in the summertime, we probably have about 90.
Okay. But how about at the site? I know when we were talking about it, in fact, when we were discussing even Iorio, which had much less parking,
Yes.
many of your employees go directly to the job site.
Yeah, our office staff is probably 6 people, and then we have like 2 yard guys.
Okay.
That's it. Everybody else goes right to the job sites.
Okay. And discuss briefly deliveries to and from the site.
Most of our deliveries go right to the site, unless it's a situation in inner city where they don't really have a lot of room. We'll take some of the material into our site and bring it there every day with rack trucks and stuff like that.
Okay. And you've had an opportunity, I know in discussing this, preparing for the hearing, we had the May 16th letter from Colliers
Yes.
and Fire Department. Any problem complying with any of those? I know a lot of some are technical, but...
No problems with complying, and, we have other people here that will explain
Okay.
what we're going to do.
And as we've said, you've already purchased the property and are looking forward to
Yes.
relocating here.
Yes,
Okay, great.
excited, very excited.
Yeah. I have no further preliminary questions of Mr. Greeley.
Questions from the board?
Sir, what's going to be on the Division 2? What's on the second floor? What do you have on the second floor?
Probably, it probably eventually might turn into offices, but I really don't even need the second floor right now. We have no...
You'll rent that out, or?
No, I'm not gonna rent it out, the second floor. No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And it's only a partial second floor.
Yeah, it's very small.
Yeah, and just to clarify that, Mr. Cunningham, when he testified, the survey said one-story building, but the architectural, and that's going to clarify the square footage, and Colliers picked that up in their review. But yeah, no changes to the size of the building, but good point. Yeah, it's, if anything, just some office space.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, if I could. Steve, one of the questions, Mr. Greeley, one of the questions that I think is on everyone's mind here and is really the details of which this yard, how it's going to be used, right? So you have 35 up to 90 employees, but you got a whole lot of parking out there. And the question becomes, what are you going to park out there? And what is the public going to see of what you're parking out there? Because we're proposing a fence around this site, and I know you're going to have some landscaping and stuff, but you have some racks that are 14 feet high. How high is it going to go, and what materials are going to be stored there? You have some palletized stuff, but
We have roofing materials, we have insulation, we have adhesives, roll goods for roofing, mainly roofing and sheet metal type stuff. Most of the sheet metal stuff will be inside the building. It's flat stock aluminum that we fabricate with to do the edge of the buildings and the copings and tops of buildings and stuff like that. We are planning on putting, as you'll see on the drawings, I think 10-foot evergreens and stuff like that to try to, so people can't see directly into the yard. We're also proposing automatic gates that you can't really see through, stuff like that, to keep it, nice and neat for everybody.
so along those lines, I know you said you're not going to lease the building or rent out space in the building, but contract yard in general, do you have equipment to fill that whole space, or do you imagine renting that out to other contractors?
At this point, I have no reason to rent any of it out. We've been using, we're probably going to use a good portion of it. We have a lot of our own trucks and vehicles and rack trucks and roll-off trucks and asphalt trucks, dump trucks, that kind of stuff.
And I think when you see the engineering plans and exhibits, the extent of the landscaping, and we also, in our engineer will testify to it, we get to that, which is always a sense of impervious, there's an area of blacktop in the front that's just striped that when we reviewed the letter and we're slightly over on impervious, we're actually going to remove that and make that green space again along the frontage.
So one more question regarding the storage. Are you willing to put a height restriction on whatever you're going to do back there? As far as, whether you're going to have piles of anything back there or your storage bins, could we put a cap on that? I mean, I'm not sure what your tallest vehicle is,
I think
or
we could surely discuss that, yes. I don't know now what height we're at. I don't know what my shelving is, to be honest. I've never measured one of them. I could measure one of them and we can come to some sort of compromise.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a problem with
I mean, when these, my experience is that when these sites go bad, they wind up getting rented out to a lot of other contractors, and then the maintenance of which, it becomes a stockpile yard for construction debris and other vehicles that, the booms are up in the air. And I think that one of the concerns are, I mean, you're here, you're a known entity, and that's wonderful, but this approval isn't for you, it's for the site, right? So, God willing, you're there for a very long time, and we have you there as a tenant, but if you're not, I think they want to have some restrictions on this site so that we can put a lid on it, right? And I'm not trying to hurt your business, but if you understand your business plan and you can work that within the aesthetics that I think are very important to this board and the township, that's kind of what we're looking for here.
Okay. We can discuss that if we need be.
Yeah, we can agree to a stipulation on that. Not a problem.
Mr. Hale, to whom will we address questions relative to the height of the indicated units that will be placed in this parking space, in this back lot? To whom will I ask those questions?
I'm sorry?
To whom will I ask the questions relative to the height and the actual location? And in the report, it indicated that there'll be some storage materials and some containers and so forth.
Yeah, that's our next witness.
Thank you.
Our engineer will have a
I believe
layout,
so. Thank
a
you.
site layout. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Greeley. The proposal makes reference to a hot tar tank.
Yes.
Do you take any safety precautions to make sure if that tank ruptures or if there's a leak, that it'll be contained? How do you manage that?
Well, it's not like completely 100% liquid where it's just going to run all over the place. It's only heated up enough to pump it. So it's actually pretty thick. If it did rupture, it wouldn't, like, the whole tank wouldn't go all over the place, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
I have a question about the hot tar. Would there be concerns about the smell, odors?
It has carbon filters on it. It was actually in the other facility, and there was no complaints of smell over there, because we just have to change the filters every once in a while. It's not a problem.
Any further questions? All right, I think we're good here. If you want to call your next witness.
Sure. All right. Cool.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And not to, but there's no public, but I guess I don't just want to, I don't see anybody. All right, I'd like to call upon Robert Cunningham, our site engineer. See, it's a good thing Natasha stayed. She can help out with it. I would never be able to do it.
I don't know which one's which. Actually, it might be this one. I don't know what that is. Model 2. Is it this one?
Yeah, that, you just have to rotate that. Those are my drawings.
Okay. It's one page, so each plate is on its own.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
You got it.
Give me a minute, sorry.
Mhm.
So that's 1, 2, 3.
And then there should be another one on there too.
And then
What's he calling it? Landscape, no, that's the planners.
okay.
There's gonna be
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, right here.
landscape exhibit, yeah.
Okay. So this, I'm gonna make this easy. I have it first, and then the pages following after.
Okay.
Okay? And it's touchscreen. You can zoom in, and you can move it around, because sometimes it's difficult with the mouse.
Okay.
Mr. Cunningham, would you raise your right hand and spell your last name for the record?
Cunningham.
And sir, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Cunningham, if you could please give the board the benefit of your work, educational experience, area of expertise, and licenses you hold, and when you've qualified before other boards or courts of the state of New Jersey.
Okay, so I received my Bachelor of Science degree from New Jersey Institute of Technology in 1979. After that, I worked for 3 different municipalities in Essex County. The last assignment in the municipal end was as a township engineer in Milburn, which I left in May of 1988. I've been licensed as a professional engineer since 1986 in the state of New Jersey, and my license is in good standing.
Board stipulates.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. All right, Mr. Cunningham, if you could, I know there's an exhibit up there. First, a little overview of, and perhaps we can go to this first exhibit and we can touch on some of the issues that were raised. Perhaps we can mark this as A1, Mr. Chairman.
So ordered.
All right, so, based upon this, this exhibit, Mr. Cunningham, if you could take the board through general existing conditions and then what's proposed here by enhancing landscaping in the areas. There's a question as to the areas where the storage would be and the like.
Okay. So the site configuration basically has been the way it is for quite some time. There's an existing building which at one time was a trucking terminal. There's two separate two-way driveways that provide ingress and egress from Springfield Road. The building is located somewhat near the center of the property and is totally surrounded on the right, left side, and the rear by a quite large parking lot. There's a grass front yard, and there is just around the perimeter of the site, there's about a 12-foot wide non-paved area between the curb and the property line. The site is essentially sloping from front to rear. There's no formal drainage system at all on the property. It just drains overland to the back right corner and eventually into the adjacent stream. The applicant is proposing to reuse the property without any major changes to the site, except for some deletion of parking spaces to create access aisles for delivery trucks and emergency vehicles, and to provide the storage area that he requested. We're proposing, let me just blow this up a little bit. So approximately at both front corners of the building and extending sideways in both directions, the applicant is proposing an 8-foot high fence with motor-powered rolling gates that would be able to be opened from the keypad, and some of these devices, even in the case of like if the fire alarm on the building goes off, these gates can be wired to automatically open. There's a lot of different combinations of ways these things can be set up. On the street side of the proposed fences, we're proposing a mulched area with a staggered row of 6 to 8 foot high arborvitaes. The plan shows.
I guess if you get a little closer, you can see the
landscape. The plan. If you look, there's what appear to be green circles in the tan areas, and those are the proposed arborvitae plants. And there are also some trees that show through in black, and those are the existing plantings. We didn't do a detailed planning plan for right across the face of the building, just in the mulch area there. It just says existing shrubs. And just recently, Mr. Greeley informed me that he wants to design some new plantings for that area as well.
In front of the building. If you could also touch on, while we have that zoomed in, and this was what I mentioned before about removing asphalt and bring us into conformity with the impervious. If you could point out that area and show that.
So where I have my cursor right now, this is an existing paved area that goes pretty much all the way out to the right-of-way line, but it's been striped out to indicate that there's no parking to occur there. So to be able to comply with the total lot coverage requirement, we would have to remove approximately 8,600 square feet of pavement, and we would propose that would start right at the very front edge of that and be somewhat of an even width all the way across, which would, of course, provide for an additional landscaping opportunity.
And then, if you could take us through, there was a question as to where the storage would occur in the rear of the lot, side and rear of the lot.
So the storage, the formal storage is proposed for along the right side, basically the right side of the building and the right rear yard. And this area that's shown in the hatching back here, that's proposed for different non-self-propelled pieces of equipment that are used in the business. Trucks and anything that is readily ambulatory would probably be parked in the rear area, more straight behind the building. This, where I'm pointing now with the cursor, that's the location of the hot tar tank that was discussed. What we got here? There's an area that's hatched in here where there will be palletized type of materials. And these heavier lines that go vertical on the page, those were the storage racks that were discussed when Mr. Greeley was speaking. Those are, in their present configuration in the other yard, they're approximately 14 feet high. And then we have a series of rectangles here that are perpendicular to the side property line, and those would be Sealand type enclosed containers. Where I'm outlining now with the cursor is a proposed concrete pad for some small diesel fuel tanks, which are used to fuel up equipment before it would go out to a job. Essentially, the reason for these shapes is that we have this line that I'm tracing now is the approximate limit of the 100-year floodplain as indicated on the FEMA mapping. And what we were proposing that nothing would be stored beyond that line, closer to the stream, only stuff that could be readily just driven out in the case that we knew that there was going to be a bigger storm event coming. And then from this space in here, this is the space between the 100-year flood line and the 500-year flood line. And then anything that would be on the ground or on racks or anything like that that really aren't readily movable would be outside the 500-year flood line.
Okay. And if you could again point where that line is, and the point here is to the board, this was a challenge even when the property was being acquired, in the sense that redevelopment of this property is a challenge when I guess essentially half of it is in the flood zone?
More than half of it is in the flood zone. I would say slightly less than half is in the 100-year floodplain. But the line here that I'm following along now with the cursor is what is presently mapped as the flood hazard area or the flood fringe, which is the nominal 500-year flood. What that really means is that statistically there's a 0.2% chance of that storm occurring in any given year. And then the line that I'm following here now is the 100-year flood, which has a statistical chance of occurring approximately 1% in any given year.
Okay. And there was a question before as to the visibility of that storage area. Perhaps you could zoom in again. And the abrevieties, there's in essence, a privacy fence, and then the abrevieties along the...
So...
and they don't exist now, correct?
No, they do not. They do not. The the arborvitaes that are shown in with the green circles, those are all proposed. We have 41 of them proposed.
And the planting, initial plantings,
Excuse me?
the initial planting heights?
6 to 8 feet.
Okay.
So, right at the edge of the existing parking lot, the fence is proposed. And this is at an elevation that's a few feet lower than the road. And these...
So it dips down?
It dips down. So effectively, from the street, this is going to provide the same screening as maybe a 10-foot high fence would if it were all flat. And you're not going to see much of it from the road because, eventually these plants, they fill out and you would basically, the only place you would see the fence would be where the gate is. And just for aesthetic purposes, I mean, that could be done in black fence fabric just to look a little softer instead of the bright silver looking, or there are even like semi-opaque like vinyl meshes that can be applied to provide a visible barrier. And that's, we didn't get in that much detail with the owner yet.
And the arborvitaes also are on the other side of the...
We, come on. This one doesn't like my fingers. So at the lower end of the site, or the left side of the site, there's a 12-foot wide section between the curb and the neighbor's property line. And there is, along the neighbor's property line, there's a chain link fence that's existed for quite a while. It's approximately 4 feet high.
Okay. And again, those same arborvitaes are...
Yeah, so we're proposing three arborvitaes in that 12-foot span. And then on the upper portion of the site, on the drawing anyway, I call it the upper portion, there's an opportunity here to provide some screening in the area between the driveway. There's presently a 16-inch spruce tree at this location, and then there's an area we could visually close off here, and then 19 more to be planted. So where this bank of planting is proposed over here, there's presently a curved island there. So that would be, that already exists.
Okay. All right. And then as far as the, I think there was a question on lighting, and I believe that these are fairly new lights, LED.
So, yeah, at some point, the former owner upgraded the lighting, and what these are, they're, the majority of these are poles that were put on existing foundations, and there's 4 light fixtures on the ones that are in the interior of the parking lot. And around the perimeter, there's a number of them that have 2 fixtures. And these are all specifically aimed. They're approximately 3.5 to 4 foot long rectangles. They're LED type fixtures, and they're aimed. We didn't have any information on what they are without actually putting a ladder truck up there or a boom truck and seeing what they actually are.
But they are modern LED lighting.
They are, yeah. These are definitely newer type fixtures. And what I proposed was that once Mr. Greeley took over the property and we were able to get these all turned on, that I would go out there with my lighting consultant and take some measurements just to make sure there's not any excess spillage.
And you would be able to adjust it with shielding and the like if it was.
No, they can just be aimed. It's a matter of loosening up a couple of set screws and re-aiming them. And to tell you the truth, I haven't been able to get to that because I'm just back to work last week from a knee replacement. So we'll be getting out there and taking care of that. So.
Right. And again, that's the limits of what's being done here. You have had an opportunity to review the Collier's letter of May 16th. I know.
I have, yes.
Any problem complying with terms and conditions?
I don't believe there are, no.
And again, I think a lot of it is technical in nature, stormwater, again, very minimal changes as you've indicated.
We will be able to comply with the request for the few additional handicap parking spaces and
Yep.
like that, so.
And where would there's plenty of room to provide those additional
so-
spaces?
Right now, and then these were existing before, as was this ramped sidewalk and all. This was apparently done intentionally in the past, and I don't know whether it was done by Bed Bath or the trucking company or whoever had it before them, but there is a ramp sidewalk that appears to be anyway at appropriate grades, and we can confirm that by taking some additional spot elevations and all. But they had a bank of handicap parking spaces in this location, and they didn't have enough hatched out areas. So they were, in the past, they were showing them as more handicap spaces than were actually there. So, so we wind up here now with having to have parking spaces that share the accessibility aisle between them. So essentially what we have here now are 4 van accessible spaces just because of the size of the space.
But no problem complying with
No, and
ADA
then,
requirements?
We maybe right across the driveway where there's, maybe over here where there's number 6 or this number 5 is, we could put those additional and then stripe out an access way. So.
Great. And I know it's always a concern, it's nice to see a large double in-out driveways. No problem with access by emergency vehicles?
No, there's on this site, there's definitely no problem for access, circulation for emergency vehicles. A full-size tractor trailer can come in here and just loop around and go out. If you see the shape of this arc over here on this, that I have on the storage area, because of the location of where this light pole is, that we have this as we would envision with the tractor trailers and the way Mr. Greeley explained his operation works, that the tractor trailer would come in on the opposite driveway, come around the back of the building and exit on this side, and would be unloaded by a forklift from the ground. Smaller, come on. Where the proposed loading dock would be on this side, that would just be to back up like maybe a 20-foot box truck or a straight rack truck or something to a small loading dock. We're not intending to try to get tractor trailers backed up to this, what is called a loading dock on the architect's plans. So,
Okay.
But we could certainly stripe that out, and that would be no problem.
Great. And and also the comments of the fire department, I think most of those will be for our architect, but from engineering standpoint, I assume no issues.
No.
Okay,
Well,
great.
we didn't actually show a proposed fire line on our plans. We didn't know what size it would be, what the design would be, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's something that
Yeah, whatever
we
would be
show
required,
when
we
that
can.
comes up. So.
Great. I have no further questions at this time. Mr. Cunningham?
Okay, questions from the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So could you zoom out just a little bit? Well, that's good enough, that's fine. So you talked about the concrete pad for the diesel fuel tanks for refueling. If there are vehicles refueling there, won't that restrict ingress and egress from those driveways?
It would, but my understanding of the operation is that there's very few people actually come to the site, and somebody might be there 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay. The other question I have regarding the driveways is the main driveway at the top of the drawing, the exit lane would only allow for a right-hand turn. So anyone exiting the site needing to turn left would have to be at the bottom of the property.
Yes.
So I would assume that any traffic needing to go left on Springfield Avenue towards Morris Avenue would, well, if they're only going to be there for a few minutes, I suppose it's not as big an issue. I also have questions about the storage containers. How much space is between those containers?
I can't tell from this, exactly from the scale it's shown, but I believe we have 4 feet, so.
4
you
feet?
can get-
And they would be single, there are 4 of them, but they would be single containers at ground level? There wouldn't be any stacking of containers?
No.
And we'd agree to a condition that there not be stacking.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have another question that maybe is obvious to others, but relative to the height, it seems like 14 feet is a magic number. Is there any particular reason for that? The hot tar container is proposed to be 14 feet high. The storage area for materials and palletized materials is also going to be 14 feet high. Is there any reason for those that has been offered?
Those are all existing items that.
From the other
that
location.
the applicant presently uses at the other location.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you. And I think that you've done a fabulous job relative to the beauty enhancement. I'm just concerned that the 14 feet thing, it seems like a high spot. What will be in the palletized materials? I mean, he mentioned that some of the things will be stored inside, sheeting and so forth for the roofing.
Clarifying what's on the pallets?
What's going to be palletized for 14 feet high? And must they be 14 feet high?
Here, you got to come to the mic, sorry.
Our equipment is 14 feet high. A lot of our trucks are 14 feet high.
Okay.
So it's kind of the number that we picked. I mean, some of the stuff on the actual racks could be a little bit higher than that, but I'd have to measure it to actually see where it's at. We could make these a little bit higher if need be.
That's at the landscape.
Yeah, and another thing I noticed is where those are, they're going to kind of be on the downgrade, right, Bob?
Yes.
The trees. So if we put a 4-foot retaining wall behind the trees, it would almost level the grade, and then those would probably be, what, at that point, 12 feet up?
We could do that.
It would,
It's
and then it
in,
would
you
be
know.
very difficult now to see stuff. I'm here, I want everybody here to be happy. I want to be happy. I want you guys to be happy. Even on the other side, it's really nothing for me to do that, with my own forces. And I just think it would, because I was over there myself looking, and I said the same thing. If you really don't want people looking in here, we could just put a little kind of knee wall up, backfill it, and now those trees would be, if they're 8 feet, now they're 12 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just look nice to me. But it's kind of hard to see in this yard because when you're coming around that turn, I've tried to get in here, and people are doing 40 miles an hour around that turn. Actually, I need to call to get the road restriped because there's no line there. So I kind of stay to my left when I want to get in there because it's dangerous. And people going the other way, they're going the same into that turn. I don't really see them stargazing to the left, but you could. You possibly could, but you take your life in your hands on that corner.
So for the record, you'd be willing to work with our engineer relative to the height of some of these proposals?
We can do that.
Thank you.
Yes, that's not a problem.
Great
great.
suggestion. Thanks, Rich.
Great.
Thank you.
And then just the hours of operation relative to traffic on Liberty Avenue. Liberty? Springfield Road. It's indicated that the hours of operation could be 6:30 to 5 p.m. Monday to Saturday. But at 5 p.m., there formerly was quite an issue with traffic relative to that time and space. So that might be an issue relative to bringing several trucks.
Yeah. Again, clarify it, because I think, again, most of the activity is not at this location. Just clarify it at busy times, because Bed
Busy
Bath.
time would be, is we would probably have 4 trucks leaving at 6:30 in the morning.
Mhm.
My guys are done at the job at 3:30.
Okay.
So those trucks will be leaving the job at 2:30, so they're back in the yard at 3:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Why don't you sit here in case I'm getting tired of you going back and forth.
It's okay.
Any further questions from the board? I had a few questions with regards to parking. So according to the engineer's letter, the required spaces for the said lot is 39 spaces. You do have proposed 232 spaces. In addition to that, based on the testimony that we've heard from Mr. Greeley, I think there's 6 office staff plus 2 yard people. So my question is, what will comprise of the vehicles taking up a majority of those 232 spaces?
So those are all existing stripe spaces. We're not obviously proposing to go out there and stripe parking spaces that we don't need. So there are a number of trucks that the business owns, and again, like I said before, it's our vision that they would be parked more behind the building, not so much up towards the front. I know there is one of the vehicles is a small tar tank that can take a product out to the job. There's a crane that folds down to just under 14 feet high, and that's the way it gets parked. It doesn't get parked with the boom up or anything like that. There's a couple rack trucks, there's a few pickup trucks, a dump truck, a couple of tag-along equipment trailers.
So are you saying that those type of vehicles would not be taking the striped parking spots that?
Well, yeah, they would be in the area of the striped parking spaces, but more in the back of the lot, not up, like the ones over on the...
When you mean back of the lot, can you just point me into it?
The back of the lot, meaning in this area back here.
Got it. And how big are those? I'm not an expert in the area. How big are those vehicles?
Okay, so the crane truck is probably 32 feet long, tops. They fold down pretty compact. The rack trucks are they have anywhere with a body from 10 to 18 foot long on them, so they're going to be tops 27 feet long. Your typical pickup, a Mason dump size type of vehicle. They're not going to be parking like tractor trailer size vehicles that can also be used as storage that you don't know about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so ever since, and I'm just referencing to the first page of the letter here, and it says here, after receiving site plan approval, I think this was in reference to April 26, 2018, the applicant decided to leave the existing building but change the parking space width from 9 feet to 8.5 feet. So I'm assuming that the current parking spaces reflect parking for vehicles that are typically not industrial construction type of vehicles, but more so your typical compact vehicles or SUVs or things of that nature, correct?
Correct. This lot, from what I understand, was used by Bed Bath & Beyond for parking for its other buildings. And people would park here and then walk to their jobs. Okay, so it wasn't, they were intended for like one time a day use. You go there in the morning, you park, maybe you go out for lunch, you come back. You know, it's not like it was set up for retail, like somebody would be going in and out of these spaces all day long. At that point, 9-foot spaces would be more appropriate.
So with what you're saying, with some of these construction type of vehicles that would be taking up the space, essentially some of these vehicles would be taking potentially multiple spaces.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's not the intention to try to park these things in a particular striped space. We're just not proposing to eradicate any more lines than we have to. So.
Got it. Is it the intention at all, and if I'm understanding of what basically the intent here is, not to necessarily restripe for the sake of restriping, but to utilize the existing space for the construction vehicles, is there any intention of utilizing any of the spaces for typical vehicles?
Well, yeah, we're envisioning that.
And when I mean typical vehicles, like consumer vehicles, compact vehicles, sedans, things of that nature.
Yeah, so we're envisioning, so the office staff might be here on a day when there's not even any need for these gates to be open. And we have parking spaces available over here for the cars. Or the people who, like what was referred to as the yard guys, there's a couple of parking spaces right here where I assume they would be parking when they come to work. If these spaces were full and these spaces were full and maybe a client or somebody came to the site for a meeting or something, that they could make use of these spaces in this area over here.
And essentially, based on the number of spaces you would have and the intended use of the property, you wouldn't expect that a majority, or even more of a majority, of the proposed 232 spaces would be dedicated to typical consumer vehicles like compact vehicles, sedans, small SUVs, things of that nature.
That's correct.
Okay, because your office staff is quite minimal and the number of employees are, even I think Mr. Greeley said, even in the summer there's only up to 90 employees. So you wouldn't be exactly having 90 or 100 typical consumer vehicles on the property, right?
The men and ladies that do the actual roofing work, they go from their homes, right? They don't come here.
Okay.
Maybe, like you said, 4 people come, load up stuff on rack trucks or pickups, and take them for the day's use at one of these jobs. But it would be rare that I would think that more than a dozen employees showed up here on a given morning. So.
Just want to establish for the record that basically the intended use of the parking lot is mainly for the construction vehicles and not necessarily going to result in this, for lack of a better word, chaotic mess of a bunch of vehicles just stored in a yard, basically. And so based on your testimony, it's mainly construction vehicles, and based on the office and yard staff that would be there, they would mostly be taking up the front parking spaces, and basically the remainder is really for those construction type of vehicles.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no further questions on my end. Any other questions from the board?
Good clarifications,
Yep.
Chairman.
Questions from the public? Okay, hearing none.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cunningham. I'd like to briefly call up Corey Fernandez, our architect. I would say.
Mr. Fernandez, can you raise your right hand to spell your spell your last name first?
Fernandez.
Mr. Fernandez, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and as Mr. Cunningham, if you could please give the board the benefit of your work, educational experience, area of expertise, and whether you've been accepted as professional architect before the other boards or courts of the state of New Jersey.
Sure. I am a licensed architect in New Jersey. I've been licensed since 2016. Before then, I received my Bachelor of Architecture from the New Jersey Institute of Technology. I'm also licensed in New York and South Carolina. I've appeared before this board for Richie's last application, and I've also appeared in neighboring communities, Morris, Summit, and I am the owner of the company Toll Architecture and prepared the plans I'm about to present.
Board stipulates.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, Mr. Fernandez, again, we've just briefly described this essential adaptive reuse of this building. If you could take the board through general floor plans and then touch on elevations and improvements that are being made to the building by Richie.
Sure. Okay. So I'm zooming into what's essentially the office half of the building. The building is split into two halves currently right now. The whole front half of the building is used as office space. I believe that Bed Bath & Beyond was using it as office space, or at least we're preparing to use it as office space. The whole back of the building is the concrete floor, tall, open garage style space. So the applicant's intent is to use the building for both his office operations and some of his fabrication operations he uses with his roofing business. So most of the front of the building is going to remain office space. We're converting about 3,000 square foot, which is in this area right here, from what's currently offices and conference rooms to a machine shop. So this is got a few machines for rolling and shaping metal for the roofing company. The existing garage in the back, at some point, all of the garage doors were removed for Bed Bath & Beyond overflow parking so that even their employees could park in the garage area. So we're going to enclose that area in as it was originally. And the applicant will use it as garage space for the business. And the front half of the building is kind of a typical office layout. So you come in through the main vestibule here, which is the handicap accessible entrance with the ramp that goes down to those 6 parking spots or so that Mr. Cunningham represented in his plans. You come in, there's a reception area, there's a few offices for the key office staff, and ADA bathrooms. The applicant wants to display a large saltwater fish tank that he currently has, so that's kind of the main focus point of the reception area. And towards the back, open offices, file rooms, typical type of spaces you would find in an office building.
There's some and typical of Richie, there's going to be a modernization of this area. And
yeah, right now it's like 60s style office, you know, like paneling, things like that. So we're going to, Richie plans to, or the applicant rather, plans to modernize it, right? So it's going to have some nice glass fronts in the offices, all new finishes, new ceilings, new paint. So it's going to be a modernized office space compared to what it is today.
Great.
Similar for the machine shop, and the garage is going to get tidied up as well. So I do have plans of the second floor. which are being shown here. So the second floor is existing office space, and the applicant intends to use it as office space as necessary. It's, as he mentioned, it's extra. It's not critical to his operations, but the space is there. He's going to utilize it the best he can. I'm representing elevations here, so try to zoom in on the front of the building here. So the front of the building has a typical kind of common brick, red brick facade. There's ribbon windows in the front, so the applicant is planning on doing general masonry and restoration to the front, so acid wash, repointing, clean up the front brick. He's going to replace every window in the building, including the front ribbon windows. So not only will it be more aesthetically appealing, but also it'll be more energy efficient as well. The current building is not insulated, so we're going to be insulating the buildings to also increase the energy efficiency. And then the rest of the building on the back and sides is CMU and some paneling. So the paneling, the metal paneling will be replaced, and the CMU, which is block essentially, is going to get scraped and painted to be modernized. So we can see the side, the brick ends at mostly what's currently the front shorter portion of the building now, and then the rest that you don't see any really material is all block. I think the one comment we got from the fire department is they're requesting that the applicant add a fire alarm system and a sprinkler system. The applicant's ready, willing, and able to do both of those. Of course, we'll have to make sure that there's enough water in the street to provide a sprinkler system for the building, but as long as there is, then we'll do it.
Great. And no problem complying with any other comments from the fire department or the Collier's letter from an architectural standpoint?
No.
Great. No further questions, Mr. Chairman and board members?
Questions from the board?
Mr. Fernandez, the exterior stairs, has there been a load test on those stairs recently?
No.
Do you plan on having one conducted?
No. Generally, they look in good shape. They're solid steel. They got, 4 posts. I don't see any reason to, nothing occurred to me that they would be unsafe, but, I'm sure if something occurs to Richie, he's got to protect his employees. So if it's not safe, he's going to take care of it.
Aren't they supposed to be tested every 5 years?
I'm not familiar with that requirement, no.
Whatever requirements there are,
Yeah.
Mr. Brandon would certainly comply with them.
Okay, thank you.
So this is more curiosity than technical relative to the application. You're doing a lot of renovation to the building. Are any of the mechanicals going to be upgraded or
Yes.
replaced?
Yes. Fire alarm system, sprinkler system.
HVAC?
HVAC, right. It's going to have new roof with insulation. HVAC system, you're going to have new units, yes, throughout.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Questions from the public? Hearing none.
Yes, just briefly then, our last witness, John Tachina, our professional planner. Thank you, Mr. Fernandez.
You always tell me briefly.
Can you spell your last name for the record, please?
T as in Thomas, A-I, K as in Kelly, I-N as in Nicholas, A.
Sir, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Hi.
And I know you've testified before this board, but briefly confirm you're testifying as a professional planner and provide the board with your credentials.
Certainly. Hi, John Tachina. I'm a professional planner in the state of New Jersey. Have been since I completed my studies at Rutgers University in 1992. I've spent the last 32 years doing this, testifying before planning and zoning boards throughout the state and around the country on behalf of applicants, just like Richie, and I'm pleased to be here.
Board stipulates.
Thank you. Right. Mr. Takina, thanks for being here this evening. You've heard the testimony, well familiar with the application. And if you could briefly discuss any relief being sought in connection with this project.
Certainly. So I'm not going to repeat anything that anybody else said. We are I'll go right to relief in question. We need some relief for really a lot of existing nonconformities. We're a little bit undersized at 4.8 acres, where 5 acres is required in your redevelopment plan. Lot coverage of 80% is required, where the existing is 80.69. We've testified that we're going to remove the 0.69 to actually eliminate that relief. The parking stall setback from Springfield Road is 30 feet, where the existing and proposed setback is 18.2. This existing nonconformance is considered conforming in your Liberty Avenue redevelopment plan. I guess that's the most important thing I can say. This is part of the Liberty Avenue redevelopment plan that was adopted in response to the Bed Bath & Beyond bankruptcy and vacation. So this is kind of the edge piece, if you will. We're kind of the end of the redevelopment plan area. So again, your redevelopment plan recognized that if you're rehabbing an existing building, your existing nonconformities are permitted. So our front setback at 70 feet, likewise, our existing setback is 65.7 is considered conforming in your redevelopment plan. The new ones are the accessory use side and rear setbacks, which are 12 feet, where 30 feet is required. So we have a C variance that is required for those. And using my cursor, that relates to the proposed asphalt tank that is there, and we are and the storage that exists along this side property line here. So the green area is the 12 feet in question, and so we're kind of lining up along that 12-foot existing curb line. I'm considering this actually a C1 variance. It's a very strange site because we have 4.8 acres, but we can't use 4 acres of it for the outdoor storage, et cetera. The floodplain really pushes us into this southerly corner of the site. So that's why we're kind of hugging that existing condition there. And then you asked why 14 feet? Because that is the accessory structure height limitation, both in your ordinance as well as in the redevelopment plan. So that magic number of 14 feet kind of carries itself across the township. So that's kind of where it comes from. So I'd submit to you that the 2 variances that we do need are related to the unique condition on this site with our floodplain. That is a C1 variance where by the reason of an exceptional topographic condition or physical feature affecting this specific piece of property, we have a bit of a hardship there. So we will still have the rest of our requirements. So we're going to need to put our positive criteria on. The benefits as a whole, the existing building is being substantially rehabilitated. The site is being improved with additional landscaping and screening. And the reuse brings activity really begins really the activity in this redevelopment zone and finally allows it to break free from the constraints of Bed Bath & Beyond and let this part of town start to get back to active use. It's interesting, you talked about the traffic at 5 o'clock and everything. The traffic left, and we kind of want it back. So that's a little bit of that, we don't want it back the way it was, but I think by and large, we're not going to get it back with your proposed uses in your redevelopment plan. We would expect that we'll have more of that warehouse distribution use. That'll be more off-peak, et cetera, as set forth in your plan. In terms of our purposes, the municipal land use law, I'll submit to you there are 3. G, to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of uses in accordance with their environmental requirements. I, to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. And M, to encourage the coordination of the various public and private procedures and activities affecting land development with a view towards lessening the cost of that development and to the more efficient use of the land. Again, I think that this 4.8 acre site is large enough for the proposed use. I think it's actually very well suited to the proposed use where we have a need for the office space, we have a need for the manufacturing space, and we have a need for some outside storage that is going to be very well screened with the arborvitae. I think the idea to kind of pick the ground up a little bit to level it out and lift that screen a little bit even helps a little more. But again, these are green giant arborvitae, literally staggered 6 feet on center, exactly how you'd want to do an ice screen. And I'm doing a little experiment in my yard. I have 12 green giant arborvitae that I planted at 4 feet 3 years ago, and now they're 10 feet. So they're growing 2 feet a year, and I only fertilize them once a year. So my own little experiment is doing very, very well on how green giant arborvitae grow. And then finally, encouragement and coordination of the various public and private procedures. Again, the challenge with these sites is we have so many masters. Here, the real constraint is the floodplain. So we have to make sure we comply with all of our flood regulations. In rehabilitating this new building, we have all of our mechanical obligations, particularly with fire safety. So we have new fire safety going in there in terms of our sprinkler system. We have new HVAC. We have additional insulation that's going in there. So again, all going towards really the overall improvement of this site. In terms of your master plan goals that are supported by the redevelopment, first of all is to support desirable non-residential development. Secondly is to encourage sustainability and resilience as part of your redevelopment. So again, with all these environmental things we talked about, the additional landscaping, new HVAC, these are all the additional light, the new windows, all those things that go directly to the sustainability talked about in your redevelopment plan. And to establish realistic, market-driven, and financially feasible redevelopment plans that encourage the rehabilitation of an existing property. And again, it's exactly what we're doing here. We're really kickstarting the Liberty Avenue redevelopment plan here. In terms of, we always have a negative criteria to look at, so that we don't have substantial detriment to public good. That's really our neighbors we're talking about. So the building is situated in a way that it's set back far enough from Springfield Road that we have a nice area to buffer. We're able to put additional green in the front yard as we talked about, have our substantial screen, have our limited parking that'll be there for our employees that come to the site. And what's nice about these sites, especially when you have very few employees that come every day, they're going to pick their favorite spot to park their car, whether somebody wants to be shaded by the building or whatever it is. And those 6 or 8 people are going to pick exactly where it is. Maybe somebody doesn't want to walk as far or whatever. They'll pick their spots. They'll be close to the building. Everybody know where it is. And then for the parking in the back, Mr. Lee, you talked about, really we want to lead the lines because it's going to help the employees kind of organize things. If it were unlined and open, it's chaos. And you talked about chaos from other cars, but here the lines are going to give them an ability to kind of, put a piece of equipment in, roughly in each line spot, even with a spot in between so that there's area to work around them. But it provides an opportunity to kind of organize that lot. Again, I think being screened the way that it is going to be appropriate. We have the Subaru building to our south, to our left, and we have the Millstone Road building to the far side. So this building you see at the edge, this is literally a 20-foot high blank wall. That is our adjacent neighbor. So literally, they're not looking at us. We can't look at them. They can't look at us. But that 20-foot high blank wall runs the entire rear end of the property. So again, this rear area is very well screened. I'm not worried about it from a negative criteria standpoint in terms of having any impacts on our surrounding neighbors. As I said, the existing building is getting rehabilitated and improved, and the lighting will be confined to the site. Bed Bath & Beyond must have done a lighting program before they left, because these lights and the lights across the street on the big parking lot, the lights on their main headquarters next door, they're all the exact same lights, new LEDs. They must have done them literally right before they left. So we're fairly confident they'll be able to, as Ms. Cunningham said, they'll be able to be aimed and make sure we don't have any negative impact. And then finally, that we're not going to impair the intent purpose of the zone plan or the redevelopment plan in this instance. And again, we're supporting desirable non-residential development, encouraging sustainability and resilience, and we're having market-driven, financially feasible plans that encourage the rehabilitation of these existing properties. In no way is this side yard variance impairing that intent at all, and I believe the board has the ability to grant the relief requested. Available for your questions.
Thank you. No further questions from Mr. Tekina at this time.
Any questions from the board? Questions from the public? Mr. Hale, would you like to sum?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we have no further witness. Yes, this is a great adaptive reuse of this building, this piece of property. It's great to see Mr. Greeley further investing in the Township of Union. His business has been at this in the township for many years. I credit this board with working, there's a struggle after Bed Bath left what to do with these properties, whether it be 650, 700, or this 1200 site. And this board worked with the Township Committee to formulate the Liberty Avenue redevelopment plan, and here you have a project that fits well into that plan, the use, the layout. You have an applicant that first offered to take an area, make a paved area into green space, and complying now with the impervious coverage requirements, putting a substantial landscape buffering in the front, and the idea, and thank you, Ms. Perkins, with that idea, and Mr. Greeley came up with the idea of the retaining wall and enhancing further the buffering up front. So I think it's a win-win. And the challenges of this site, I know Bed Bath struggled, and this was before more recent DEP regulations, what to do with this site because with the constraints of the flood. So here you are, utilizing the existing building and avoiding the severe flood area in the rear portion. So to me, it's a win-win and a benefit to the Township of Union, and we would look forward to the board approving the application. So thank you again for your time and work not only on this application, but on the redevelopment plan.
Thank you, Mr. Hale. Can I get a motion to approve application 2025-05, RCG Realty LLC?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion, and I'd like an opportunity to comment before the vote.
Okay. All right. Moved by Mr. Cohan. Is there a second?
Second that vote.
Seconded by Mrs. Khalid. Mr. Cohan?
So, Mr. Greeley, I just want to thank you for your investment in the community. I believe virtually all of our questions were answered, and the representations you and your witnesses have made are going to help you to comply with all of the requirements, and we need good neighbors like you. Thank you.
And thank you for continuing to invest in our town. All right, so with that, roll call, please.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Frame?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mayor Bowser?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Kalid?
Yes.
Chairman Lay?
Yes. All right, I don't think we have any further correspondence or agenda items, so can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Oh,
Yeah, just want to thank
Mr.
you
Hale?
all and enjoy the holiday weekend.
Thank you, you
Appreciate having
too.
a meeting the Thursday before Memorial Day. So,
All right,
appreciate
wonderful.
it.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Hale. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Ms. Khalid. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.